And I'll never forget the words she used. She looks at me and she goes, "Chanel, you're a rock star because you're 7 centimeters. So we have to leave now for the hospital, or we have to plan for a home birth."
Hi, I'm Chanel, a former nurse, mom to 5, and homesteader alongside my husband. Through this channel and my Ready Family Guide, I help families reclaim health, joy, and purpose at home. Here you'll find natural remedies, from scratch living, and simple steps towards a healthier, more intentional life. Families today need to rise up as the gatekeepers of their homes, protecting what comes in and nurturing true wellness. You are not alone. Welcome to our home era.
Hi, I'm Chanel. I am due in about a month with our 5th baby, and I thought it'd be so fun to continue to share my birth stories. If you missed my first one, grab the link in the description or watch it after this one. But this birth of my second son was my unplanned home birth. So pretty wild, pretty amazing, and we had just a really great journey. So my first son came at 39 weeks and 1 day. So with my second child, I was keenly aware that I could have a baby a week early, but he decided to be actually at this point my most overdue baby, and I was 40 weeks and 5 days. Now, they had adjusted my date by 5 days, even though I knew exactly what day my cycle started when I got pregnant. So he technically would have been his due date if we had just left things, but whatever. Anyways, so because I had been a few days overdue, that evening my midwife had suggested to me to try some breast pumping. So I pumped milk with my first a few times, but I had never done it like dry. So that was a new experience. I did a bit of breast pumping, and I started having like some stronger Braxton Hicks, but like it fizzled out, nothing happened, and I went to bed. I woke up around 7-ish, 6:57-ish with my first contraction, but it was a really it felt like a weak contraction. So I had a few of those, and then I texted my midwife and I was like, okay, I'm starting to contract, I think, but they're like really weak. This must be the like false labor or, pre-labor that people talk about. If you missed my first birth story, I had a precipitous birth, which is when you have a birth very, very quickly. My first contraction to holding my son was 2 hours and 10 minutes, give or take, which is incredibly fast. And so we were kind of expecting it to be like that as well, but also knowing that, every birth is so different and so unique and special. So that was different because it was like, I wasn't immediately in hard labor where it was really intense. They were like kind of weak contractions. And I was like, okay, well, this is probably false labor. So she's like reassuring me, saying, you know what, everything your body is doing is building up to giving birth. So trust that it is going the way that it's supposed to go. It's doing a great job. My midwife encouraged me to have a hot bath or shower, like just get my body kind of relaxed and see where things kind of led. If they pick up at that point, then, your body's in real labor. But if it kind of fizzles out, that's where you know that it's kind of pre-labor. So had a warm shower, I think I had like a birth ball in there. I was just bouncing on the ball. Everything was super manageable. They were getting closer together, but they weren't like intense where I was realizing that I was in real labor. I still at this point thought, oh my gosh, this is going to take all day. These are so mild. Around 8-ish, I'd been in labor for about an hour-ish. Text my midwife again. We actually got on the phone and she's like, okay, tell me what's going on. How do you feel? Da, da, da. And I just said, like, I feel so uncertain. I feel like we don't know if this is real labor. And at this point, we were planning a hospital birth. I had all my bags packed. And she said, why don't I come to you and check you? This was mid-December, just a few days before Christmas. And it was cold out. It was just such a blessing she could come to me. So she comes to our house. She gets there around 8:30. and I'd been contracting and da-da-da. And we had our 2-year-old he was still sleeping. So he was going to be watched by my parents. So when we had called the midwife and made the plan for her to come over, we had called my parents and just said, like, no rush. Just like maybe start making your way over here for the next couple hours because, we've got midwife coming. Things are starting to happen, but like they're kind of slow. The midwife arrives, she checks my blood pressure, baby's heart rate, does whatever, checks, and then she offers, did you want a cervical check? We can see where things are at. And I said, yeah, let's find out what's going on, if I've even started dilating or this is kind of false labor. And I'll never forget the words she used. She looks at me and she goes, Chanel, you're a rock star because you're 7 centimeters. So we have to leave now for the hospital or we have to plan for a home birth. And we both, just my husband and I, were like, we need a moment to pray because that's kind of like a big shift in the plan. And quickly prayed and both immediately felt peace about having a home birth. Now, again, we had nothing planned for a home birth. So she's telling my husband, okay, go get these towels, get a heater, da-da-da-da-da, rearranging the room. And I'm just like on the birth ball, just doing my thing, going through my contractions. So not a big deal. And she starts working on getting a second person there. Ideally, you always have a second midwife or a nurse or whatever at the home birth for safety purposes. So that one can be with mom, one can be with baby, and, be helping everybody that needs help. So she's calling around. There is no other midwives available. And my good friend down the street, I have a friend down the street who is a labor and delivery room nurse. I don't even know if she had ever worked with my midwife at that point, but she does now. And my husband called her and she said, yes, I can come. So she ran over and she arrived halfway while I was already pushing. So the room kind of gets set up. I am in my zone and then I start to feel that pushy feel. And when I feel that feeling, like all of my births, I don't think I've never had to work hard with pushing. My body's working hard because it's so intense. Like, it obviously very painful, very intense, but like, when you're working out or something and you're like pushing yourself to the limit, I don't feel like my muscles are pushing themselves to the limit of how hard I'm working. I'm not pushing like, I don't know, and maybe I'm so out of it at the time that I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, so with my first son, I was like delusional at this point. When I was pushing my baby out, and even before that, I was super like kind of cognitively not quite there. With my second son, I was much more mentally there. And that threw me off too, because I was just so aware of what was happening, and I really felt the difference in the pain that was coming through my body and the intensity of it. I don't love using the word pain because I don't want moms out there to listen to this. I don't want you to hear that and be scared. But we're joking if we're saying that it's not painful. Are there people that have pain-free births? 1,000%. Can God do that? 1,010%. But most of the time there is intense pain along with giving birth because your body is opening in ways that has never opened before, or even if it hasn't, been years in between opening that way, and it just creates a lot of pressure. And anyways, so I'm feeling a lot of intensity, and I'm on my knees this time, which is great. My first birth, hospital birth, was on my back. I just instinctively knew I wanted to be on my knees and kind of squatting, and I just did that. So I start pushing, and I even felt when I was pushing my second son out, like I needed to throw up. I think like the pressure down and upward was kind of like, I don't know, it just felt like I was like, I remember saying like, I think I need to throw up. And I didn't, thankfully. Like, I think it just felt maybe like a burn go up my throat, and it kind of felt like it was going to, but my husband was right there with me, holding my hand and reciting scripture to me. He's such a great man that way. He's right there with me the whole time. And about 10 minutes into pushing, which I pushed for 20 total, so about 10 minutes in, was when I heard the nurse arrive, the nurse from down the street. And like right before I started pushing was when my parents had arrived to watch our little guy. And was still sleeping at that time. I think halfway through the pushing again was when he kind of woke up. So he like missed the commotion of it all, and he was just 2. So they quickly scooped him up and brought him downstairs. And when they arrived, the plan was for us to go to the hospital this whole time, right? They didn't know what was happening. So my husband just kind of says, we're having a home birth. And then they kind of figured out like, oh, there's a midwife here. And like, it's not just like free birth it in your bedroom kind of thing. So anyways, yeah. So pushing for 20 minutes, feel the intensity. Oh my gosh, so intense. So real. And out pops my beautiful, healthy son. And I don't even remember if she put him through my legs and I rolled over. I think that's how it was. I know for sure with my 3rd and my 4th, that's how we did it. But yeah, I don't remember 100% with my 2nd. I must have. And I just remember saying over and over, that was crazy. That was crazy. Because I went from like not really knowing I was in labor to holding my baby in like 35 minutes. And it was just crazy, like just how everyone showed up and did what they needed to do and da da da. So right after giving birth, I always want to delay cord clamping as long as possible. Now, I have a negative blood type and my husband has a positive blood type. So they do have to extract some blood from the cord to test baby's blood type to see if baby's also a negative or if baby is a positive blood type. And that is just something that like most women are positive blood type, like it's more rare to be a negative. So most women won't have to deal with that. It's not really anything, it's a big deal. The Winrow and the Rogam and all of that is a whole other conversation we could have. And if that's something that you want to hear more about, comment below and I will happily build that into doing a video on that and sharing my thoughts and experiences with the Rh negative blood type and doing Winrow or Rogam and when I do that and when I don't do that and what the studies show and all that stuff. But they check baby's blood and all 4 of my sons have had a positive blood type. So I, after giving birth, take the Winrow, which just is it's a blood product that just gets injected. And that's something I've done to protect my future babies. But again, most women aren't going to have to deal with that. It's not going to be something you have to even think of because you're a positive blood type and it doesn't matter. But so they delay cord clamping as long as possible, but still knowing they need to collect a bit of blood. And then another thing that I didn't mention with my first birth video is the oxytocin. So I was in a hospital with my first baby and no one asked me or said anything. They just jammed a oxytocin syringe into my leg and injected me. I do not think I was excessively bleeding. It's just like standard protocol, but not okay for people to be doing something to your body without your consent. And I probably would have just said yes. I was so young and I didn't even know that was something that happens at birth. But with my second, I had told my wife ahead of time, if I'm not bleeding excessively, I don't want to take any synthetic oxytocin. I just don't want to be injecting myself with things that I don't 100% need or very strongly probably need. And so she was super respectful of that. I did not have excessive bleeding. I did still have a 2nd-degree tear that she needed to suture a little bit, but it was not, I wasn't excessively bleeding from my uterus. It was clamped down really good and everything was good there. And then other standards that are standards, but we do things differently. It has changed now, but at the time, erythromycin eye ointment was like, they offer that to all moms. And sometimes they might even they might just do it without you even knowing. That's a whole like ethical issue. But I declined it with my first and it ended up being this pediatrician had all these things to say about it. And it was like, the reason they do it is in case you have syphilis or gonorrhea, which are sexually transmitted infections. I know I don't have those. Straight up 100% positive. They're not something I'm dealing with, so not something my baby needs to get eye ointment for. That is an antibiotic that you're putting in their body. Like, it's just absolutely not necessary and has downside. So again, something else I can go into more in detail if you're interested, but something we don't do. And then vitamin K, they often want to do a very, very high dose of a vitamin K injection for the newborn. My first, I said yes to it, and all my other babies have gotten, I've purchased separately vitamin K drops, and I do a normal dose for a baby, not a mega dose. I think the dose of vitamin K they give in the injection is enough for like a 250-pound man. So not something a 7 or 8 or 9 pound baby needs by any means. So we do oral drops for vitamin K. However, again, that's something too that a lot of moms are not doing anything with. The body, God created us so amazing. And the reason why they don't want to necessarily have the vitamin K is because the stem cells that are in the baby's body are able to get into areas when the blood is a little bit thinner. Vitamin K is a clotting factor. With traumatic births, yes, if there's forceps or there's a lot of bruising on the baby or something, that would be a different conversation. But for most births, that's not what's happening. So anyways, again, whole other conversation we could have, but we did oral vitamin K for our son, drops that I had purchased and gotten a dose from our naturopathic doctor. And of course, immediate skin to skin, nursing baby as soon as possible. Just trying to be hands off with the baby. Like, I don't want people rubbing my babies. I don't want them like just diving right in and like getting all in their face. I want my baby to have a moment to like collect themselves after birth, which is just as hard on the baby as it is on the mom. Like, their skull literally has to overlap, and like there's no way it's not painful and intense for them too. It is for sure. We just can't ask them about it, and no one remembers that, so we don't know to it the full extent. But it is very intense for babies. I want to give them a moment, catch their breath, start having those cries, feel me and being nude with my baby and having that skin to skin, and getting them nursing as quickly as possible. All those things. Those are all things that I've done, and we'll do with our fifth as well. So I do remember one very specific thing that was different with my second baby than my first, and that was that it took me about a day to kind of get over the pain. And it was so interesting because I probably like Richter scale, which there's no Richter scale for pain, but like if you could scale pain, I probably was in more with my first. I had way more extensive tearing, and it was just more intense, I think, but I was so delusional that I didn't really know. For my second, I was not delusional, and I was very aware of how much pain I was in. It took me like a day to kind of get over that. And then you forget, and I remember even thinking like I love my baby intimately, but I almost was like, it took me a moment to like process that his birth caused that pain for me. And so I just want to mention that, because if you felt that, or it took you a moment to like, I don't even say forgive, but like kind of like forgive your newborn child for the pain that it caused to birth them, like that's real. And that doesn't make you a bad mom or anything like that. Process that. If you know Jesus, process that with him to have that full circle kind of conversation to go like, okay, why is this hard? What's going on here? Because it's really real. It's really intense. And obviously, though, your baby didn't cause the pain, or, you know what I mean, want that for you or whatever. But if that's where your thoughts have gone, you're a great mom, and you don't need to feel bad about that. Process it, forgive, release, and your body naturally releases it. There's actually a biblical principle called Manasseh, which means God helps you forget. And this is it's a principle whether you believe in the Bible or not, because we forget the intensity of things. We forget how hard that was. And that's a good thing, because we can't stay in that mindset of how hard something was or whatever. It's hard, it's intense, but it's fleeting. It's very, very momentary. And even leading up to having my fifth baby, I've had all those same kind of like fears a little bit, and like that, oh my gosh, I'm doing this again. I'm going to give birth again. This baby has to come out of me. And it's hard work and it hurts a lot, but it's like a few hours of my life. And I can do this. I've done it before. I can do this. And I know that I'm going to get through that. So there is an incredible podcast done by Farmhouse on Boone that I'm going to link in the description below so that you can go listen to that if you are going to be giving birth soon, or you know someone that's going to be giving birth and is feeling fear. It's an incredible conversation between two moms. At the time, Lisa with Farmhouse on Boone was about to have their 9th, and the other lady on her show, I think was pregnant with their 6th or 7th child. And so like very seasoned moms that have had a lot of births and have always done it naturally and all these things, that are able to it was such a good conversation, able to really help you wrap your mind around things again and all that. So definitely check that one out. I listened to it several times and I will be listening to it more leading up to having this baby. But my second son too, I forgot to mention, was almost a pound bigger than my first. He was 7 pounds 4 ounces and perfectly healthy. Everything was wonderful. And we just got to hunker down for Christmas that year with our tiny little newborn. And it was really, really great to have our 2 little boys. Stay tuned for my third birth story coming up. If you are binging these back to back, I hope you're enjoying them. Please comment below if you have any questions or have anything you want to share. Birth is one of those traumas in our life that we want to relive over and over, because it's like trauma is such an intense word, but like it's a trauma, but like the best type of trauma, because it's literally the birth of our babies and our children. And it is the most incredible thing to be able to do and to experience, but it's something we just relive over and over. And I've known so many moms that we just talk about our birth stories and we want to tell them and we want to hear them and we want to be together and kind of rally around each other with our birth stories, even far years past after our children are grown. It's like birth stories just have so much power in them. And I hope that my birth stories are encouraging to you, that you can have fast, easy births at home the way that you want. You can say no where you need to say no. You can say yes where you need to say yes. And you get to control this. This is your body that is birthing your baby. Every medical professional is going to have their opinions or their suggestions. You don't have to always take those. And so I just want to encourage you that your body and your baby are worth your proactive approach and your voice of reason to go, I'm not okay with that. We're not going to do that, please. And standing firm in that. So thank you so much for watching. Okay, I need a cookie.